Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Polosebi. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create a slideshow presentation with JavaScript. And this tutorial is like the project to my tutorial on JavaScript DOM. So if you haven't seen the tutorial before, you can just check the link to check the description of this video to go to the JavaScript DOM. And okay, let's continue. But this, if you haven't watched the JavaScript DOM tutorial, it's okay. This tutorial is going to be basic for everybody, even if you don't know DOM before, and even if you haven't watched the tutorial. Okay, so let's check what we are going to be doing in this tutorial. This is the presentation, and as you can see, I can slide down. Okay, and if I click on next, it's going to slide to the next slide. Next. I only have 6 slides, and after and I can also use the previous button. If we are in the first slide and we click on the previous button, it's going to go back. It's going to go to the last slide, and we can also slide with this nav buttons here. We can also slide with them. Okay, and we can also put it in auto, that it should be sliding by itself. If I click on this auto, so it's going to start sliding by itself in every 1 seconds. You can change the time at which it is sliding. So if I should click on it again, it's going to switch off. It's going to stop the auto slide. I can set the time. I can set the time to, let's say, I can set the time to 2.5 seconds. At every 2.5 seconds is going to be sliding. Every 2.5 seconds. You can also come here, can click here, just navigate quickly. Okay, and if I want it to be very fast, I can put it in maybe 0.5. Let me just put it in 0.5. Okay, so that is what we are going to be doing in this tutorial. Before we go on, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It motivates me to do more tutorials like this. Alright, so alright guys, I've already done the styling of the slideshow of the presentation slideshow. So, and these are the buttons, the previous and the next buttons, and the auto. Though the CSS I used is not that complicated, CSS. So, and I'm going to explain briefly what I did. Okay, so and this, if you click on this, it's going to be automatically scrolling it and with the value of this timer. Okay, so now let's go to the code. Now this is the code. Let me just open this down and close this. So that's going to provide more room. Okay, so these are the slides. And this is the previous button, the timer container, and the drop navigation that is going to be at the side here. Okay, all right, so let me quickly explain the CSS. Right, so this is the body and the slide container, which is the bigger container that is containing all of the slides. And this is the drop down nav, the auto scroll container, position fixed, both of them position fixed, And so if you come to the CSS file in the projects folder, so if you want to access all the files that I use in this tutorial, the link to the files are in the description of this tutorial. Under the description of this tutorial, just go to the description of this tutorial. You are going to find it there. So if you come to the CSS, you see that most of the stuff are not that complicated, and this is slides styling. Because the slides has two sections, the first section and the second section. Okay, so this is section 1 and this is section 2 with the width of 35. Alright, so this tutorial is not much about CSS, so I'm not going to be talking much about CSS. Alright, so this is the slide container, and the slides, this is the first slide, and this is the second slide. Alright, and these are all the slides. Though you could create the slides dynamically by creating it with objects, with array and things like that, but in this tutorial we are not doing that. We're not going to be doing that in this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing to do is let's make this previous and next button work. Alright, coming to our JavaScript file, see that I've already included, I've already written some JavaScript here. So I got the previous button, the next button, the auto scroll, the interval time, the drop nav, and the slides, all the slides. I got all the slides. Alright, so this query selector, or if you watch my previous tutorial on JavaScript DOM, you are going to understand the query selector and the difference between the query selector and query selector or. This is going to get all the slide elements into an HTML collection. Like the HTML collection is like an array, but it's not an array because you cannot perform some things you can perform with an array. You can't perform it with HTML collection, but you can look through an HTML collection and get the items in an HTML collection with their index. So that's the only similarity between HTML collection and array. Okay, so we are going to be looping through. When time comes, when we want to do the drop navigation here, we are going to be looping through the slides. Okay, the first thing is let's attach events to the next button. Let's add events to the next button. So I also talked about add event listener in my JavaScript DOM tutorial. So if you don't understand JavaScript add event listener, just go to the tutorial and watch it. Okay, click. Then I'm going to be using arrow function. Okay, so what we are going to do is I'm going to create a variable here called current slide. I'll set it to 0. So it is the current slide. I'm going to be incrementing it. So I'm going to be attaching a scroll into view, because this slide is going to get all the slide elements, all the slides. Is going to get them into an array. So I'm going to get, and we can get each of the slide elements in the array with their index. So I'm going to be getting them with the index. So the current slide is going to serve as an index. Then before I do that, I forgot something, because these slides are still scrolling and I don't want them to be scrolling like this. Now each of the slides are 100% height. The height of each slide are 100%. Okay, so to prevent them from scrolling is the slide container, because each of this slide one is the main slide and the rest of the slides are overflow. Now to prevent the overflow in the y direction, so I'm going to hide the rest of the items. So the stuff, the browser is going to be um, reloading automatically by itself whenever I save, because I'm using live server. Okay, so if we if you notice that the scroll bar is no more there, and you can no more scroll now. I can no more scroll now. Okay, all right. So back to our JavaScript. So I'm going to be attaching an add event listener method. No, I'm going to be calling a method like scroll into view method. Okay, let's just write that, scroll into view. Then we can pass some arguments inside it, that behavior smooth. I want it to be smooth. Okay, now let's go to the browser, and okay, I haven't saved it. Let's save it and go to the browser. Right click on next. It's going to scroll to the next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. Right, so it is now in the 6th slide. Now if I open the console now with Ctrl Shift K, you notice some error. I've gotten some error, that type error, can't access properties, scroll into view, blah blah blah. It's because it is incrementing the current slide, and at the index that is incrementing, it is above the total number of slides in the slides collection. So to prevent that, I'm going to undo it here, and I'm going to check if current slide is equal to the slide dot length minus 1. That is the length of the slides minus 1. If it is in the index, then I'm going to set it to 0. That is, it's going to go back to the top. Else, if not, then just increment it. So that's all. So that's the solution. And I'm going to reload it now. And right click on next to keep incrementing it. And once it goes to 6 and I increment it again, it will go back to the top. That's 0. And I can continue incrementing it also. Now that is that. And let's go to the next button. Oh, the previous button, sorry. Previous button dot add event listener. That's click event listener. And arrow function, I'm going to return an arrow function. Okay, so this previous button is going to be decrementing the current slide. Now the algorithm here is going to change a bit. So I'm going to check if the current slide is equal to 0. In case if the current slide is in the first slide, that is 0. If it is there, then instead of decrementing it to -1, -2, things like that, so I'm just going to set it to 0. Instead, I'm going to increment it. No, I'm going to set it to the number, the length of the um, the length the length of the slides -1. So I should do this now and increment. This is going to decrement. Okay, it's supposed to decrement, but why? Previous button. Oh, I forgot to save it. Okay, Now if I increment it and okay. I'm saying I'm telling it to increment instead of decrement. So it's going to be -1. Increment, then decrement. Oops, I forgot to save it again. Go back to the top, right? So previous, next. And if it is in the first slide, that's index of 0, then to go back to the bottom of the page of the slide, then next, and you can go back. All right, that is that. Now we need to list out the drop navigation, the navigation that we can use to select each of the slide. Now we are going to do that with the drop navigation, and I've gotten the drop navigation already, which is this. Okay, now we are now going to be looping through. We are going to be looping through the slides with the for loop for I. There's this. Now I'm going to say I'm going to replace this with current elements. Okay, then drop navigation. I'm going to not drop navigation, slides. Okay, I'm going to be using the drop navigation down here. Now I'm going to be creating div elements. Let's drop navigation list. It's going to be like a list, but it's not going to be a list. Let me create elements. Create elements. Div. Drop navigation list. So next is to set. We're going to set the inner text or the text contents of the drop navigation list to slide. Then we're going to add then the current slide, which is going to be I plus 1. Then we are going to be appending the drop navigation list, the drop nav element. Append child, which child? Drop navigation list. And let's go back to the browser. And okay, I forgot to save. Now I can see it has appended everything, all of the slide. Now the reason why it's displaying like this is because of the style that I set before. Okay, now we need to set the background of each of the slide to the background of the first container of each of the slides. Now how can we do that? Now that's where we need the current element, and we're going to do that with drop navigation list dot style, then dot background color equal to drop navigation current element. Now the style is in the first content of the current slide, which is this element. That's slide content. That then we are going to be getting it with the query selector. Then the background color, we want to get the style dot background color. Now we set the background color of each of the element, the list elements that we created to the background color of the first section of the current slide at the index. Now if I just save it now, I can see the background color of this slide 3 is equivalent to this background color here. Okay, I should go to the 2. Okay, the 1. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to attach event to each of them to scroll to to the respective index of the slide, of the corresponding slide. Okay, now I'm going to add events. I'm going to add events to it. I'm going to say add event listener. Now click. Once we click it, I'm going to return a callback function. And what we are going to do is this next button. And it's going to be doing the same thing that the stuff is doing, but we're going to be replacing the current index to the current slide to the index of the for loop. Also, this is going to be the index of the for loop. The index of the for loop. What we are doing is we are at the time of the at the page load. When the page loads and run this for loop, it's going to create the element and it's going to attach an event to each of the elements that was created, and this I is going to be the number of the index at that time when the for loop was running. So if this was 3 and this was the third and this was okay, this is going to be the index 3 and this is going to be the third list that will be created, the fourth list that will be created. So this is going to be the 3 and this is going to be 3. So it's going to tell it that once the user click you, just as the fourth drop down nav, once the user click you, set the current slide to 3 and scroll, make the current slide at the index of 3, the slide at the index of 3 to scroll into view. So that's just all that we are doing here. And if you don't understand, just go to the comment section and ask any question you want. I'm going to take my time and answer all your questions. Okay, now I think I've saved it. All right, I've saved it. Let me just save it again. And if I click on any of this, it's going to scroll there, and I can still scroll back and forth. If I click on 2, 1, 6, 5, 2, 3, 4. All right, I can still use this because they are both using this current slide and they are both setting this current slide and they are both they are setting the slide with the current slide. Okay, now the next thing now is to make it work automatically by itself after clicking this button. Now let's do that. Now we're going to be looping through this slides HTML collection. I'm going to be looping through it. Let's go to the end of the script. Slides, let's say, okay, okay, no, we're not going to be looking into it anymore. The thing is the interval time, this which is the interval time, and the auto scroll. That's what we need for that. So I'm going to add an event to the auto scroll, and it's going to be click. And I'm going to include a function which is going to be an external. I'm going to call it auto scroll function. No, for the shorthand FN. I'm going to create it here. That's going to be const auto scroll FN. That's going to be a function, anonymous ECMAScript anonymous function. Okay, now I'm going to be using set timeout. Oh no, set interval, sorry, set interval. And it's going to require a function. We are going to pass in an ECMAScript 6 function. And we can just pass in any number we like this 1000 is equal to 1 second, is in milliseconds. So instead of that, we are just going to get the value of the timer and use it to set it. Now, what is the timer? This is the interval timer. So that's it. That's pass float interval time dot value. We are getting the value and we are multiplying it by 1000. So if it is 1, we are going to, that's 1 second. We are going to multiply it by 1000 to turn it to 1 second. Okay, so what are we now going to be doing? The same thing that we did in the next button. That's exactly the same thing we are going to be doing in this set interval. And also we need to be able to clear the interval, and we are going to set the set interval always return an integer value. That is the ID of the interval. That is the ID of the interval. It's going to return it. So we need to create two variables here. That's going to be interval key. That's going to be initially, okay, null. Let's set it to null initially. And next thing is toggle, because we are going to be toggling the auto scroll on and off. Let me say toggle, what should I call it? Toggle interval equal to 0. Okay, now we are going to check if it is 0, that is, it is still in the it's still in the initial state and the interval is not running. I'm going to understand it more just in a while. Equal to 0. Then let's put all this inside. If it is equal to 0, then do this. And if it is equal to 0, inside the set interval, I want to set it to 1. Then later, all right, downward here, we are going to set it. We are going to check if the toggle interval is equal to 1. That is, the interval is already running. Then we are going to clear the interval. Now we need to pass in the handle or the ID of the interval. I call it interval key. So we are going to pass in the same thing here. So after that, we are just going to set this toggle interval back to the default 0 state. Okay, now let's save it. Go to the browser and just load the page. And if we should click on the auto now, you can see it's going to start. So if I click on it again, let me click on it again. It's going to stop the interval and it's going to stop scrolling. Okay, and I can also set the time. So let me just set it to 0. So that it's going to be faster. 0.2. You can see it's very fast. Now let me stop it. Set it to 0.5. And you can see it's very fast. Okay. That is that. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to make this button, like, we need to make it indicate that we've turned it on and we've turned it off. What we're going to do is we're going to say the auto scroll. We're going to set after after in this place, if the toggle interval is equal to 0, we're going to set the background color, the style dot background color to light green, and the border color to white, border color to white. And what text? Okay, we're going to, the text content is going to be, okay, the color, let's say the color also to white. Then the text content equal to on. Let's just set it to, let's just say it is on. It's going to indicate that it is on. Now after we've toggled it off, we are going to set it back to the default state, which is, let us go back here and look for the toggle button. Okay, I think it is up here. Auto scroll. Oh, it's not toggle, it's auto scroll. So we need to set the background color back to this color, and the border color back to the border color, and the color also back to this color. Okay, and the text content back to auto. Now if I save it now, go to the browser and load the page. Now if I actually click on it, you can see it has now changed to on, indicating that the slide has started scrolling automatically by itself. So if I should click on off now, I click on it again, it has toggled the auto scroll back off. If I click it, you can see, click, close it again, on it, close it, on it, close it, and I can still use this to navigate, and all these ones to navigate. After stopping it, I can use this to navigate back and forth, and this also. Okay, all right. So this is the this is how to build a basic and quick slideshow presentation with JavaScript. So the lesson files of this tutorial is going to be available in the description. The link to the lesson file is going to be available in the description of this tutorial. Alright, so if you like this tutorial, just give it a thumb up, and if you don't like it, just give it a thumb down and tell me the reason I don't like it. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It motivates me to do more YouTube channel, to do more videos like this. Alright, see you in the next tutorial.